I've been looking for an original sin.
Is this the right show? Is this Granny's PhD? It kind of feels like Double O Deep Dive.
It kind of does. This really does sound like a Bond song.
Maybe it was supposed to be, and then it just got rejected, and they ended up like, hey, The Shadow, yeah, that needs a song. Let's just throw it.
That needs a song.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Granny's PhD. Now it's all
there we go.
PhD, episode 139. Those who are tracking, and yep, never would have thought another Taylor Dane opening song for us. Original Sin from the soundtrack of The Shadow from 1994, which is our movie of the week. Yes, Alec Baldwin's turn as a comic book superhero.
Can you smell the blockbuster? Because the 90s stink is all over in this movie. I love it.
It sure is. Yeah, thanks for joining us as always. You're joining us on Facebook live stream, joining us on YouTube or X or Instagram or wherever you found your audio-only podcast, and we always appreciate it. I'm Ed, and with me as always is Jason. Jason, what's up, man? What's going on?
No, nothing much, man. Good to be here. Happy to be talking comic books. Be talking The Shadow. I've been trying to get this movie on for a while, and I'm going to say this, guys. I thought I saw this movie before. I have not. This was the first time I have seen it.
Oh my God! Wow, do we have a lot of fun? Because I really was under the assumption you owned this on DVD, and this is kind of like just one of those films you had like a special feeling for. Wow, was I wrong?
No, I just thought that it was cool. It's Alec Baldwin. It's The Shadow. We needed a movie, and I thought I watched this a couple of years ago, and maybe I did sit down to watch it and fell asleep, got drunk. I don't know, because I vaguely remember the beginning, but then I had no idea what I was in store for.
Oh man, I was watching this last night, and there was a couple of times where I thought to myself, I was just like, all right, so Jason definitely owns this on DVD. He probably saw this when we were in high school and just has like a special place in his heart for it, and that's why he has been, a little behind baseball thing that Jason has been pushing for this movie to be covered for a while now. Probably, I would venture to say over 100 episodes you've been talking about while doing The Shadow. It's been a while.
We have. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of wish that we saved it, because I think, and not done Dick Tracy, because I think this, the Phantom and Dick Tracy are like the holy trinity of this type of movie.
Yes, there's definitely like a lot of Dick Tracy vibes that I got from this, without getting too deep into it yet. But I definitely got that immediately. Like in the first I got Big Trouble in Little China vibes, and then it turned into Dick Tracy vibes, and then I was like, this is like Dick Tracy's like dark emo brother or something.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Right, like something
Dark
like that.
Tracy.
It's kind of what. It was something like that, because there's a lot, but we'll dive into the similarities in more detail in just a bit. So I guess there was some news that had popped up over the weekend. We're trying out some new segments where we're discussing some more movie, comic book, TV show news as a kind of like an opening segment. But apparently we do have a new writer for Avengers Kang Dynasty. which I will put in air quotes if you're listening, because
Yeah.
we have no idea if that's what it's going to be called still. But we do have the same writer who was the showrunner and writer for Loki season 1. He also was the writer on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, as well as he was only signed on to currently write Avengers Secret Wars, and now he's writing Avengers Kang Dynasty, air quotes again, because I don't know exactly what this whole thing means, for it, because last week we speculated that, hey, Avengers, the Kang story might be getting shit canned, and the way Loki season 2 ended, you can kind of see where they can say, hey, whatever, his variants are being taken care of, we're moving on, let's go to the next big bad, and that's that. Or they could say, hey, these variants are getting pruned and they're all getting sent to the void, and they're just helping Kang out, and he's somehow has manipulated everybody into helping him again. The MCU's put themselves in a good position where they can kind of just do whatever the hell they want right now. And they can make a choice. They can Kang back, see what happens with Jonathan Majors, because that's another big thing that, hey, is our lead actor going to be in prison by the time we shoot these movies? Like, that would probably be a problem. Or we can recast, or we can do whatever the hell we want. So I guess, Jason, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think this is still wait and see? Do you like the idea that they are bringing someone who at least is writing both films? Because we kind of, I think it's assumed that the films are going to probably be fairly tightly connected, as Infinity War and Endgame were. So, and what do you think? Based on his previous MCU work.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like it. I like the idea. I think the MCU is trying to sort of do some changing, not just because of Jonathan Majors, but they're also trying to combat superhero fatigue and the box office drain. And yeah, I think he's a good candidate. I liked Multiverse of Madness a lot. I thought it was better on the second viewing. I think I shared that on the show at some point.
Yeah.
And I love that first season of Loki. I mean, I love the second one, but we all love the second one. Some people were hit and miss with the first one. I really enjoyed it. So I'm excited to see what he comes up with. As for the Jonathan Majors stuff, I think, I think for that we got to wait and see. I think if he gets off, they're going to go forward with Kang. But if he doesn't, I don't think they could if they wanted to. And if they don't, we all heard the rumors that might spell doom, like earlier than we thought we'd get him.
Yeah, because we've both been saying, hey, Doom is going to be the big bad of Avengers Secret Wars, and everything has always seemed so lined up for that. But like you said, maybe we're getting him earlier. There's going to be a fifth Avengers movie of some sort prior to Secret Wars anyway. So who knows? His writing credits as of now, I had pulled up on IMDb. Loki season 1. He had wrote Heels, which is the Stephen Amell wrestling show that, throw that over to Just Too Sweet show there for that. Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, The Black Hole, and he has written episodes of Rick and Morty. So
Okay,
that's kind of what he's done.
Doesn't have a huge body of work, does he?
No, he doesn't. It's kind of, but Kevin, apparently he was supposed to write Kevin Feige's now canceled Star Wars movie that was going to happen. So Kevin Feige apparently holds this guy in some pretty damn high regard. You can definitely say that. And the MCU course correct. I mean, I don't know. I think it's undeniable at this point. Like, I'm not saying that they're canning everything that they're trying to do or we're setting up. I just think they're probably going to fine tune some stuff and, go forward from there. But if they really do believe in Kang as their villain and they want to go forward with Kang Dynasty, listen, if Jonathan Majors is not available, then you recast. I don't think it's that complicated. I mean, you don't need.
I would be honest though, like my hesitation with recasting is that I don't think I Jonathan Majors is amazing,
Yeah,
and
he
I think
is.
recasting everyone is going to not be able to help but compare who they get to Jonathan Majors, which means they're under the gun to find someone like head and feet over whatever better than him, and I don't know if they can.
It would be tough. I mean, the MCU has recasted a few times, though, right? Like, Ed Norton, which many forget was the original Bruce Banner in the MCU, and they went to
No, right.
Mark Ruffalo.
Ooh,
So
bite your tongue.
yeah, sorry, slip of the tongue there. No, not Eric Bund. But Mark Ruffalo, and then don't forget, Rhodey was not always Don Cheadle. It was Terrence Howard at one point.
No, of course. Of
So
course, but I think Kang has been like he's been more in the forefront. Like we had one Hulk movie with Ed Norton and one Iron Man movie with Rhodey, and they were the first and second ones. And I don't think it's impossible to recast, but like at this point, we've had this Kang in a lot with Jonathan Majors in the role, and I think, and again, I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's very tricky because we've seen a lot of the Jonathan Majors Kang at this point.
yeah. I mean, my gut feeling is that they're going to scrap Kang. I think that's not completely. I think they're going to scrap him as being the big bad that they were going to have shoulder the next phase 5 and 6 of the MCU. I think they are going to, shift course because I think based on the way Kevin Feige has done things for the most part, it seems like when anything has any kind of a bad taste in the fan's mouth, he will try to somehow erase it or move on from it as fast
Yeah.
as possible. Right? And subtly, usually, right? Like that's the kind of thing that I think there is. I think that's what I'm saying. I have a feeling they're gonna be like, something, maybe we did goof up on Kang and maybe we'll have him as a supporting villain in one of these next 2 Avengers movies if Jonathan Majors is available. But otherwise, yeah, let's go forward with Doctor Doom, who the other news floating around the last 24 hours has been apparently some outlets are reporting that Cillian Murphy is their top choice right now.
Oh, okay.
Take that with a
Okay,
grain of salt.
I would love that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I also like your pick of John Hamm that you mentioned last week, and then the story broke within 24 hours after that. So,
Right.
yeah, I like those choices. I still stick by Adam Driver as being a possibility. But hey, I think we're both in saying, listen, if you're going to shift focus to Doom, go, so be it. Fine. We get
Yeah,
Doom
I'm never gonna complain about getting more Doom,
Yeah, I agreed. And then I guess the other thing is there was box office tracking that came out, which that can be also taken with somewhat of a grain of salt. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom tracking to open lower than The Flash.
It's possible.
Yeah,
It's possible only because I'm sorry, there's a lag. I keep interrupting you. But it's possible because I think we talked about this with The Flash. People are kind of just like, what's the point? They're rebooting this. I'll just wait for the James Gunn movie.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Like right now, the Marvel's not doing well at the box office. Follow up to a couple of things, but one of them being a billion-dollar MCU film in Captain Marvel, right? Like that came out when the MCU was absolutely scorching red hot between Infinity War and Endgame. That probably has something to do with it too. And the Marvels not doing well, so that follow up, and then the Aquaman, the original, highest grossing DCEU movie, right? And that's it. Unless this beats it, it's going to hold that title. Another billion-dollar. It's their only billion-dollar film that they had, and now you're going to follow it up with a stinker at the box office. And I'm not saying that the movie's going to be trash. I think the trailers look pretty cool. I'm excited to see it. See how the DCU goes out, once and for all. But it's just wild, man. Wild times with comic book films right now in the theater.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And I guess we'll just have to see. We'll have to see how it shakes out. And I am really curious now, like what the box office records that we're seeing, what it spells out for like the future of these movies. Like will James Gunn reinvigorate this, or will it be more of fan apathy of okay again? Like I'm really curious how it's going to go.
Yeah, because I mean, I think maybe we see some studios tightening up budgets on certain things, and they'll start being a little bit more selective which ones they go balls to the wall with for $200 million budgets, maybe going forward. Um, but I still think they're still going to come in. They're still all the ones that are in planning are still getting it made. I do think, as we had mentioned, probably a good time for the MCU to have one movie coming out next year. Inadvertently, I think that works out for them. And DC rebooting their universe and just having one movie come out next year too. So it kind of gives the fans a little bit of time to breathe overall, even though Sony will be in high gear like they've never been before.
God.
So I think it is interesting that in 2025, what we're going to see, what the results will be. And what makes it also really interesting is with Sony putting out their movies, right? So we're still getting 5 comic book movies next year. We both agree that the casual fan doesn't know the difference between any of them. They don't give a shit. So I wonder if Sony, if they put out 3 duds next year, is it going to hurt the overall momentum that these types of films could be picking up? Because a casual fan's going to be like, wow, that movie sucked. No.
Yeah, and it also the fact that they're putting out so many, I think, does nothing to alleviate again the fatigue of the genre because I think DC going okay one, Marvel going okay one. That's them being smart and going okay. Let's let as you said let fans breathe, let them kind of miss us a bit, let them be excited again for what we're doing. But Sony just drilling at us like with as many as they're dropping. It's like as you said, the casual fan, I don't know if they're going to even, they might get to the point where Superman comes out and goes, fuck this, I was burned by 3 of those stupid Sony movies.
It's possible. And I also think that, like Deadpool 3, they have to crush it. The MCU has to crush it with Deadpool 3. And from all things, there's a lot of buzz around that movie. There will be a lot of buzz around it. If that movie does what the other 2 Deadpool movies did, and they stay on track with that, I think that's a good sign. Joker, same thing. Even though Joker is not connected with anything coming out or, the DCU, like it's totally its own thing, I think those box offices will be telling. And if those 2 are strong, and listen, Venom 3 might do fine, because the first 2 did well somehow, some way.
People like that. People like those movies. And again, they're not. We said it on the show. It's not. There's nothing they don't like. It's just there's better stuff out there. But yeah, people like those movies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't foresee Madam Web. I think Madam Web is definitely going to bomb. I'm assuming Craven will bomb as well, unless something crazy happens that we don't have any concept of what's in there. But yeah,
I mean, we know it's not in there.
Oh, we definitely know it's not in there. You will not be. Don't expect to see Spider-Man anywhere near those movies.
No.
Oh man! All right. So, all right. Before we kick into the next segment, just make sure that during this broadcast you support our page by sending us some digital stars, which is a digital gift that helps us earn money for Pop Culture Pros. And hey, it's Giving Tuesday. Go for it. Give it to Pop Culture Pros. Let's keep that train rolling. Because that's what we are presented by PopCulturePros.com. All right, so our TV show, our one and only TV show still going right now, Invincible Season 2, Episode 4, and even Invincible is taking a mid-season break of 8 episodes.
It is.
Yeah. Crazy fucking episode, though. I will say that. They definitely left me on a wow. What about you?
Yeah, I really want to know where it's going. That's an excellent cliffhanger they set us up for. Um, and yeah, I thought overall, good episode. Good episode. I was wrong. It was really Omni-Man. I said that I didn't think it was, but it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you something I don't think anyone would have called is that Omni-Man has a bug wife and a child with her.
No, certainly not. That I did not. I was on my Invincible bingo card. I did not have Omni-Man goes to another planet and goes out and starts up another family with a bug. No, nope, not on my bingo card.
Yeah. Yep. Me neither. But that is what we get, and the whole reason Omni-Man has, tricked Mark into coming to him, is because he knows that the Viltrumites know he's been in this post, and they know he knows where he is, and he needs help to defend his child and these race of bug creatures that live for a year. Their lifespan is 1 year, which I think is very interesting. When Mark first sees his dad, he has this great moment where he doesn't know. We don't know either, but he doesn't know if he's going to punch him in the face or hug him. And he winds up hugging him, which I think is beautiful. And then he gives him the fucking business and reads him the riot act, which I thought was very realistic to a father-son relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, pretty much this episode. I mean, other stuff goes on we'll talk about, but the meat of this episode is Omni-Man and Mark fighting off the 3 Viltrumites that we saw in last week's episode. And yeah, these Viltrumites are fucking sick people, man.
Yeah, they don't hold back, man. They really go in. They fight to the death. Put it that way. They are trying to end you in every single fight. And yeah, that first dude that shows up who you kind of think is dead, and basically intestines are getting ripped out constantly. It seems like on this show, that's the big finishing move.
Yeah, a lot of intestines.
Yeah, that's the go-to move. It's not like, a left hook or something like that, or a cross. No, it's like, I'm going to fucking slash out, open your stomach, and your intestines are going to come flying out. That's the finisher in Invincible. But yeah, there's some great fight scenes in this that I thought, and like you mentioned, Mark and Omni-Man having their conversation and the amount of fucks that Omni-Man Invincible drops on him is just wow. I thought I was watching The Boys. That's how many fucks that we were getting.
Oh yeah, and there's that great one in the beginning which I love because when he finds out that Omni-Man has a new wife and kid, he's like, Mark is like, what the? And then it goes to Invincible, but then it comes back and he's like, fuck is going on? Like I thought they were gonna go away from it, but they lean into it. And it was a really nice moment. It was funny as hell.
Yeah, and he's he's really had it with him. And I think the interesting thing was that we see Omni-Man flying after the events of the season 1 finale, him flying, and he's got the goatee going and everything, and you can see time is passing, but he's actually thinking in deep thought, like he's actually regretting what he did. Like I didn't also see that coming. I'm gonna be honest.
I wasn't sure where they were going with it, but I'm very glad that they went there because they took great pains to set up that regardless of what Omni-Man was saying, like he didn't mean it. Like his wife wasn't just a pet to him. His son, wasn't somebody he wanted to kill for the Viltrumite way. So I'm glad that they went that route, and I thought it really works, and I think it really sells his character change because he's really like, no, I want to save these bug people. I want to save my son. I want to save my wife. And Mark calls him out like, well, you care about these people. This is who you are. You're a good guy on this planet, not Earth. And he tells them, my life on Earth is over. I can never go back there after what I did. And I thought that was just the realism of that. Like, yeah, no, he can't go back there.
No, and him acknowledging that is a big, a big moment for the character. Also, we see his wife back on Earth, and she visits Nolan's grave. Omni-Man being, Nolan, and she's talking to him at one point, like just regretting, like, and she's sad still. She just can't, even despite of what everything had happened, she can't really let him go, and she's still kind of. I'm pretty sure she says something along the lines of just knowing he's still out there, and kind of like, instead of being dead, like that's also part of what's eating at her.
Yeah, because she can't get the closure she needs.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what she's looking for here, and there's just a lot of strong character stuff with the whole Grayson family. And I kind of think that's, after this episode, that's at what's at the heart of it for me this season. Even besides the multiverse stuff that I know they're teasing, and I'm sure in the second half of the season it's gonna come in more. But this whole Viltrumite Grayson family fallout because of the events of season 1, I'm here for it, man.
Yeah, no, I find it really interesting too. And the way this ends, and then we can go back and do some cleanup with some of the B plot lines. But the way the major plot line ends is, you think that they've won. Omni-Man has effectively killed 3 of them, but he didn't finish the first one, who comes back and just destroys them. And then Mark is like pretty much destroyed. And they're taking Omni-Man away. And a Nazi-looking German Nazi-looking doctor from like a 60s sci-fi movie shows up, and he's like, "Oh well, you've proven yourself. Now you're going to go and take over where your father left off." And I know you don't like that, but you can either kill a couple of hundred of them to get them in line, or we can exterminate them all when we get there, and they're still don't want our rule. Up to you.
Yeah, so you're getting this. I mean, it also looks like, yeah, they're setting up Mark versus all the Viltrumites, like, which is completely insane. Yeah. And I wonder, is this where the multiverse thing comes into play? Like, does he need to get other Marks to team up with, or some shit like that? I don't know.
I think it's got to be. That's because we haven't really seen much of the multiverse guy for a while. And yes, his thing is he hates, Mark because of all this other stuff, but he might need to help him to counteract the Viltrumites. So yeah, I think you're right. I think definitely those two things are going to intersect.
Yeah, I would imagine. And some of the other stuff that's happening with some of the supporting characters.
Yeah, so Adam Eve does this thing. I really liked her scene or two that she had, because she just decides to go out and like, okay, you know what, I'm going to do some old-fashioned crime fighting. And she gets into it with a villain who essentially beats the hell out of her and uses the fact that she's trying to save a car, with an older couple in it, to beat the hell out of her, and then forces her to let them die. Because they died, right? Like they weren't saved at the end there.
No, they weren't.
And so that, and I thought that was great because she beats them like, but just seconds too late because doesn't get to them in time. So she's kind of dealing, and then like she's getting phone calls that she's not taking, and she's kind of just, I don't know, going somewhere. She's got to go and figure out stuff. And I thought that was a really interesting thing to explore, because it's kind of like it's a less this is what superheroes would look like than the boys are, because we never see superheroes really have to deal with civilian casualties that they inadvertently caused, and now we do, and I think that's interesting, and I hope that they explore that more.
Agreed.
And then post One of my favorite B plot, by the way, is the Mahler twins, or the Mahler, who, because now he's all messed up because of the explosion, so he can tell it. They know exactly who the clone is, and so he pretty much uses this clone as a slave. And then the clone poisons him and takes over and decides to make his own clone. And I just think that is fucking hysterical. Especially because there is no way of knowing if he was even the original or not. I think the original Mahler died several generations ago.
Oh yeah, I'm with you on that one, and I think they just keep this cycle just keeps going and going, and it's just a running gag that these two are just going to keep on wiping each other out, and they're really both the clone in the end.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, it's oh god, it's just hysterical. And then you mentioned the thing with the mom; she kind of sells the books. So won't take money anymore from the government and wants it to go to the victim's family, and that's kind of her storyline. But they followed up, and I guess I knew this, but I forgot. But I forget his name. But the guy with the glasses, who's the second in command for the government guy.
Yeah.
She last episode, Mark's mom was surprised to see him, and that got him thinking. And then he went back and he looked at the uh, footage from the first season, and yeah, he killed himself trying to destroy Omni-Man. I should have known that. I remembered it once I saw it. And then he has this chilling moment because I guess he thinks he's a robot, and he just stabs himself in the arm and watches himself bleed and goes, "Good, good."
Yeah, I didn't know where that was going to go. I was like, is this dude about to kill himself trying to figure out if he's like a robot or not? But they kind of
me too.
Where I guess he'll be repaired and stuff.
I guess. Well, I mean, is he a robot or is he a clone? Like,
he's not. Well, not to say that he's the Mahler twins, but he's not the original. I don't know what the. I don't.
Oh no, he's
like level.
He's definitely not the original. I'm just curious what he is. Because we don't know anything about that character. Maybe this is just like the guy they clone and use. Like, I don't know. They used to do something like that in Star Trek.
Yeah. No, I can see that. Yeah, I didn't remember too much about his storyline from season 1. And I guess I had a similar reaction where once he was watching the security footage, and I was like, oh shit, that's right. That happened to this guy.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's pretty much it, right? Did I miss any B plots?
No, I think that kind of covers everything in there. Invincible season 2 will pick up with episode 5. They don't have an exact release date, but it's early 2024. So that could be January, could be February, it could be March. Who the hell knows?
Okay,
hopefully
not too long.
No. All right, so then that will bring us to our movie of the week, which was, as we had mentioned, The Shadow from 1994. Against obviously starring Alec Baldwin, if you could see our wallpaper for this week. And yeah, this was a film based on, an older comic book and like serial and stuff like that from like back in way back when. And it got a big screen treatment in 1994, which was following up that decade's, Batman 89, then Dick Tracy, and now we get The Shadow. People going ahead and tapping any property that they can get their hands on at that point in time. But this one's so fairly obscure. I got to imagine if Dick Tracy didn't do well, this movie never happens.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. This movie is. I think I said this in the beginning. It's this, The Phantoms, Dick Tracy, the holy trinity of the '90s movies, because it really is such a similar thing. It's like Dick Tracy went for the look of the comic book. This is going for the look of the old darker comic. The Dick Tracy had an insane list of special guest cast, as does this. I mean, Jonathan Winters in this fucking movie. I mean, our younger viewers have no idea who he is, but he's one of the funniest men to ever live. In this movie for some reason. Uh, but yeah, this is definitely. And then Alec Baldwin, man, do you remember a time when Alec Baldwin was a dashing leading man?
Not exactly. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Alec Baldwin. Listen, I like Alec Baldwin. Love him on SNL over the years. Like, he's become like incredible on SNL. Like, as one of the random people that can just show up whenever the fuck he wants and just do whatever he wants, essentially. But as far as him being like the man, not exactly. I think he definitely works as a supporting character. I mean, supporting actor, pretty well. But I mean, is it me? Do you feel like I'm off base here with this?
I don't know. I think I'm a bit more. I'm a bit more of an Alec Baldwin fan. Like in this top point of his career than you. Like this for me. This is Glengarry Glen Ross, which he's not the star. But he's got one scene, but he steals the scene.
Okay.
What else? He was in Beetlejuice at this time. What else was he in? I don't know. I gotta have a reason for liking that. He's Alec Baldwin.
Well, no, but that's the thing. I'm not shitting on Alec Baldwin at all because I like Alec Baldwin. But him being like the man, like the Brad Pitt or something like that. Like I'm actually, my computer's being a prick right now, but I'm trying to pull up his IMDb so we can kind of like really take a look at. It's funny because they have what he's known for. The Departed, which he's phenomenal in The Departed.
Yeah.
He's not in it a ton, but he's fucking phenomenal in it.
No, he is, yeah. But again, that's older Alec Baldwin, different generation. It's a supporting role. And I'm trying to think because like everything I can think of that he starred in, he was kind of the villain or an asshole, like Absence of Malice or The Getaway. Was he in The Getaway? Or was that Kim Basinger?
Well, I was married to Kim Basinger, so
I know. So I sometimes like swap their careers in my head.
Wow. I know he was in Mission Impossible Fallout. He's been in some of the Mission Impossible movies as one of the directors, like everyone is. I forgot he was in BlacKkKlansman, which I really like. BlacKkKlansman.
Oh, I didn't see that. I meant to see that, and then I forgot about it.
Definitely check. I would highly recommend BlacKkKlansman. I really like Spike Lee, so highly recommend.
I do too. Yeah, you know what? I gotta go check that out. Thank you for reminding me of
that. Wow, this is really going through everything. I mean, literally everything. I'm trying to.
What's he doing? What's he doing in the 90s?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find out here. So, wow, Knots Landing, huh?
Oh, that takes me back.
All right, so here we go. Beetlejuice was 1988. Hunt for Red October, because he was one of the many actors that has played Jack Ryan.
That's right.
At this point. So, yeah, I remember him in that. He was in Great Balls of Fire, Talk Radio, Working Girl. All right, so I can see where he was definitely on a hot streak here.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So in 1988, She's Having a Baby, Beetlejuice, Married to the Mob, Working Girl, and Talk Radio all in 1 year.
Holy shit! Yeah, that was the year of the Baldwin.
Yeah, that was it. Glengarry Glen Ross was in 1992. Then he's credited on
great movie. Check it out. Anyone who hasn't seen it. Oh, he must have been a guest.
Yeah. The Getaway.
The Getaway. That's what I was thinking. The Getaway.
Yeah, that was in the same year. That was his other movie in 1994 with The Shadow.
Okay.
The Juror. Heaven's Prisoners. Ghost of Mississippi.
Never saw that one.
Notting Hill. This is uncredited in that. I'm going to be honest. I don't think I'm too off base on this.
Oh. No, I think you're right. All right, but now I know why I thought of him as a leading man, because he did this and he played Jack Ryan which both are leading men type roles. And then I guess I just didn't realize he disappeared off my radar until 30 Rock after
Yeah,
that.
I mean, he's never stopped working, but it was very much. He was in Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. I remember seeing that in the theater too.
What?
Yeah, he was a voice in there of Captain Gray Edwards. He was in Royal Tenenbaums. He was the narrator voice.
Oh yeah, actually, I loved his contribution to that movie.
He was in Pearl Harbor. He was a voice in the Clerks animated series as Leonardo.
The man will work.
Along Came Polly. Yes, I remember him in that. He was the boss. He was Ben Stiller's boss in Along
Oh
Came Polly.
yeah,
I really like that movie. That movie's pretty fucking funny.
I do too. It's one of those stupid comedies, but I will defend it because it's fun as hell.
Mm-hmm. He's credited with 2 episodes of The Simpsons as Dr.
Okay, yeah, that
Caleb
tracks.
Thorne.
And he also plays himself on one episode.
Okay. So, yeah. This is kind of what I imagined, I'm going to be honest.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. You're right. But I could see why they cast him. And I think, honestly, if this movie did better, and if he was a little better in it, because I'll be honest, I don't think he can carry this movie as much. I did enjoy it, but I don't think he does good carrying it. I'm not saying it's necessarily his fault. It's just, I think it's asking for some things, some heavy lifting. And but I think if it was better received, if he was better received, I think he could have had a leading man streak after this.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's probably where he was, aiming for with this. By the way, so all right, so whatever, before we get into the details of it, my thing is this. All right, so don't love this movie. I think it has some, I think the concept of the shadow is an interesting idea. I don't think the story, the way the movie itself is made, I kind of felt it to be confusing and just not well written, not well directed either. But I like the concept of the shadow. I just feel like in other hands, maybe this, not even Alec Baldwin. I don't even think he's the problem. I just think I don't know. It's even like the shadow himself. Like when we meet him, he is in Tibet in opium, like, I don't know what you want to call it, opium heaven or days, or is he an opium dealer or something like that?
Yeah, I think he's the head of a cartel. Like he's like the head of like some organized crime, like doing some evil shit.
Yeah, and then the movie kind of just like this dude shows up and like whisks him away, and then we just get an explanation of kind of like, it reminded me of Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker. It was like, oh, Palpatine has returned. And that's it.
Somehow
Palpatine has returned. And in this, it's like, well, he told him you have to use your shadow to strike fear in like the hearts of like the evil and fight crime. We don't see any of that, and he just is the shadow then. I mean, that pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was pissed off when that happened. I was like, wait, what the fuck?
You're not wrong. I agree with everything you said. I still enjoyed this movie, but I agree with everything you said. I'm not going to defend this movie as good.
I'm not even saying it's definitely. Listen, we've covered much worse movies on this.
On
this podcast, but it was just like you know what it is. I get frustrated when I see potential in things, and then for silly reasons, it seems to fall apart. And that's coming on when I felt like this. Like, if there was a Shadow reboot, I might be all for it, because I'm like, maybe in better hands, the concept, I can kind of see where, all right, this could be kind of cool. But also, I don't understand like why we're supposed to buy into him as a hero after this short blurb of he's a hero now. That's it. I told him he's got to go be a hero. Now he's a hero.
yeah, they don't really do much to set that up, and that's what I mean. Like by this movie's asking Alec Baldwin to do a lot of heavy lifting because he's got to sell this on his charm and himself, and that's I said I don't even think it's his fault. I just think that they're asking too much from him because you're right. Like this does nothing to set that up. The first time we see him, he's scraggly with long nails brutally murdering. That's James Hong, right? In the beginning of this,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Brutally murdering the one and only Asian actor who took every single Asian role from 1979 to present.
He was Shang Tsung no, he was in Big Trouble Little China, and that's what gave me those
Yes.
vibes there.
Yep. Oh yeah, he was in that. He was in Seinfeld. He was if there was a movie with an Asian actor in it, it was him.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
But yeah, and then we just get that. And you're right. The whole like, well, and then I was called to this temple and forced into this smash cut to 1930s Manhattan. I'm driving around with Peter Boyle of all people. Again, young people listening might not know who Peter Boyle is. One of, again, like Jonathan Winters, one of the funniest people ever. Why is he in this movie? I don't know.
We can go through the cast, though, right? You mentioned Jonathan Winters, who's the police commissioner, and he's Lamont Cranston, who is Alec Baldwin's character in this. He's playing the police commissioner.
I can't get over that name. Lamont Cranston is the craziest name I've ever heard.
I think you have a soft spot for this because Tim Curry's in it as well.
Yeah, well, yes, 100%. Like it's a movie with the feels of Dick Tracy, which I have a lot of nostalgia for. The feel of Batman '89, which is just like 2 hours of joy for me every time I watch it. And Tim Curry's in it. Of course, I have a soft spot for it, and just inexplicably Peter Boyle and Jonathan Winters, and like, I mean, this is a perfect mess.
And Ian McKellen, who would go on to be Magneto, 5 years later?
Yeah, fucking Ian McKellen's in this movie. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The cast list is insane.
Yeah, Penelope Ann Miller is the leading lady in this movie. She plays a character named Margot Lane, who I guess for some fans she is Al Pacino's love interest in Carlito's Way. Like that's one person I think maybe get on a lot of people's radars, at least now.
Yeah, I've seen her in stuff I like. I really like Carlito's Way, but I don't think she's very good in this. But again, I don't think it's her fault. I think the direction is really bad.
All right, so speaking of which, let's talk about Penelope Ann Miller's character in this movie because, after the opening scene that's in this, Margot Lane, when he goes to talk to her at this club that they're at, after he does his first introduction of the Shadow, and we get the bizarre laugh that goes on, and we find out he has, a network of people, and that starts getting explained. We get introduced to this character, Margot Lane. And right away, we find out that she has psychic powers in this, and she doesn't go for the Shadow's bullshit, essentially. She's not fooled by it. But Jason, did I miss it? Is there ever an explanation for this?
I knew you were going to ask that because I'm psychic too. No, there's no explanation.
Okay, so I mean, the story beats that are going on that are my issues with this movie, they're pretty much front and center, and they all happen very early.
Oh yeah, no, it's sloppy writing. So I did a little because I'm not doing because Deep Dive is on hiatus, so I did a little deep dive into the Shadow, the history of it, and apparently some of the old comics. It's heavily reliant on the way Alec Baldwin gets his powers, the way Lamont Cranston, the Shadow, gets his powers, is he has latent telepathic abilities that the monks help him learn to use. And so I I'm assuming this might be a holdover from the character in the comic. Maybe she also at one point had a latent psychic ability that just kind of happened, but that is nowhere in this movie.
And huge missed opportunity. I mean, am I wrong here?
Oh no, that should have. Look, you give someone psychic powers, you follow up on the psychic powers. They got to be addressed. I mean,
And it
do
never
they even
happened.
come in handy?
No, not really. Outside of just saying, "Hey, she could." Put it this way, Lamont is the only person she seems to who's affected by this, because she doesn't go for his shadow bullshit, and she doesn't, and she
Hmm.
can somehow just keep reading his mind, and he acknowledges it, and that's pretty much where it goes, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah, big missed opportunity.
And the writer of this, one of the two writers that are on this, is I'm gonna screw up his last name, uh, David Kia.
Okay.
Did I say that? So let's go through his
I
writing
think so.
credits, by the way, which is bonkers. Okay. Let's see the highlights here. He wrote Death Becomes Her, wrote Jurassic Park, also
Oh,
wrote
I
Carlito's Way.
love Death Becomes Her. I'm sorry, that's funny.
It's great. Also wrote the screenplay for Mission Impossible, the original, not the film.
Right.
I mean the film, not the
all
TV series.
all all four of those movies are really good and not terribly written. Like, I
No.
wouldn't say they're Academy Award for Best Screenplay. It's not Quentin Tarantino, but I mean, they're well written.
Oh, but we get more. The Lost World, Jurassic Park,
Okay.
Stir of Echoes, Panic Room, Spider-Man. The first Spider-Man movie.
Spider-Man Raimi?
Yeah, Raimi's Spider-Man. He
Okay.
wrote the screenplay for that. Also, Johnny Depp's Secret Window, which I absolutely despise.
I'm the only one who likes that movie, but I like that movie for two stupid reasons. One, I read that story as a kid that it's based on, and I remember liking the story. And two, just John Turturro, who like, did you steal my story?
Dude, me and Burr went to see that movie, and we're like cursing at each other as we were watching it. For who actually, we were almost like the Mauler twins. Of whose stupid idea was it to go see this shit?
Oh, classic.
Also, War of the Worlds. Let's see, Lego Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Brick,
All right.
and Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. As well as Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and The Mummy,
the
Tom Cruise The Mummy, the one that failed to launch
okay.
the Universal Monsters shared universe.
All right. So I mean, this is like, I would say this based on everything you said. Like, but I think his worst. I think there are only two movies that I would argue are not competent.
Okay.
I think Jurassic Park 2 is an incompetent movie that just fails on so many levels. And what was the other one you had said? There's another one there that I just blocked out. The what were the last couple? Oh, The Mummy. The Mummy,
Okay.
which I'm sure is not competent. But the rest of them, like, as bad as like the worst ones are, it's like, yeah, it's a competent movie. Like this guy strikes me as like a hack for hire, and there's nothing wrong with that.
But then you team him up with Russell Mulcahy, Malaki, whatever. He's the director of this, so he's another person who I think is guilty of this. But guess what? He directed the original Highlander in 1986.
I love that movie.
No argument here. And I saw a couple of weeks ago, I think you actually, Pam, had mentioned that on Facebook, our old teacher from IAT. And that was the first
Yeah,
time I saw that movie. Was in high school actually.
that's right. That's right.
Um,
And
but then
I had seen it, but I remember her talking about it a lot. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, she was all about it. But then also directed things like Resident Evil Extinction, which we've never done the Resident Evil movies on this, and I'm not suggesting that we should, but it is there.
And we
Uh,
never will.
The Scorpion King 2, Rise of a Warrior, a direct-to-video sequel of The Scorpion King.
Ooh.
A lot
That's painful.
of music videos, including AC/DC's Family Jewels. The Human League, the very best of.
All right, so like, did they get this guy off the bargain bin?
Kind of seems like it. I mean, that's a Taylor Dane Original Sin music video. So not only did he direct the film, he directed the music video of the main title of the featured song.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
The Real McCoy, which starred Kim Basinger.
Oh, I think I remember that.
Ricochet, I remember that. That was Denzel Washington.
Oh God, John Lithgow. I haven't seen that movie since high school, but I saw that movie about 20 times in middle school. I love that movie. John Lithgow is chilling in that.
Yeah, I know he is. He's really good in that. Highlander 2, The Quickening. I didn't know he actually came back to do that, and that's definitely a movie that many people can't stand.
That's a bad one.
Oh, yeah. Yada, yada, tons of other music videos. All right, so you get the point here. So, yeah, I kind of could understand why this movie went to shit when you have an erratic writer and essentially a shit director.
Yeah, but I will give it this. I think the look of the movie is good. Like it has a tone to it. It's trying for that like 30s like old school feel, and I think it nails it. I think it nails it as well as Dick Tracy does.
Yeah, I will say that for what it's going for, and I try to keep these things in mind, right? Like while I'm watching this, and I don't hold dated special effects to movies unless it's something that's absurd.
No.
Like for its time, it's like, yeah, this is even bad for them. This is fine. And you're right. I agree. The Dick Tracy vibe that we mentioned earlier, it definitely has that, but like a darker, more sadistic, horror-esque version of it. I guess if that's a good way to describe it, I don't know.
Yeah, no, because Dick Tracy was very bright and colorful, and this deals a lot in shadows and muted colors, and that's clearly a choice, and I think it's a choice that works well for it.
Yeah, no, that part's fine. I just meant like in a sense of the writer and the director and me holding them to the fire for why this movie didn't work for me. It's because I think that's just the writing is incompetent and the directing. Mm-hmm. I think there's some bizarre performances in this from actors that we know are talented and that are much better in other things. And I am not referring to Alec Baldwin or Tim Curry, actually. Tim Curry is very Tim Curry in this movie. He goes all
Tim Curry's very Tim Curry. And God bless him. Tim Curry is one of my favorite actors of all time. He's like Christopher Lloyd for me, where if you go, like, hey, do you like that actor who played Frankenstein? Yeah, no, I love that guy. Do you like the guy from Clue? Yeah, it's the same guy. Get out of here, like, because he's so good. He's such a great character actor, and he really knows how to chomp that scenery.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that was enjoyable for me in this was that. Another thing that I think was really strange is the villain that we get. So not Genghis Khan, but Shiwan Khan, who's played by John Lone, Lone. I mean, I'm not sure I can.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to. I'm not sure.
He's Asian, right?
Yes.
They weren't doing Yellowface, right?
No. He's apparently
okay.
He was in Rush Hour 2. He was in Nothing Year of the Dragon. He was in The Last Emperor.
Okay.
So yeah, he's got some movies under his credit, but it's just he was such a weird villain. Such a weird villain.
He was, but so again, I did a little research. This is the Shadow's Joker. Like this is his iconic villain.
Okay.
Yeah, and his thing is that he claims to be a descendant of Genghis Khan, and therefore feels he should rule the world. So I think the villain was strange. But I think they were kind of working with what they had, and they just weren't very good at what they did, like what they were doing. But I do want to give credit. Like I like, there were certain moments I liked with the villain, like his cordialness in the beginning, him constantly trying to get like corrupt Lamont and get him on his side. There's that really good scene when he first meets him, and Lamont has like hits a button to get his gun, and he throws him a coin for like something he had just taken to eat or something. It was, I don't know. I felt that there were moments that worked for me with the villain, although that shit crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, especially when he decides to jump in a cab and not think anything of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Again, I can't defend this movie. There are just aspects I really enjoyed.
And how about when him and the Shadow have the shoot off and the bullets smash into each other?
Oh, but that's very like stylistic. Like I mean, it might not work, but I think that was an intentional kind of like nod to this old crime, like gritty noir stuff. Like that's something you would have seen in that kind of comic book.
Listen, if it happened in a John Woo movie, I wouldn't bat an eye on it. I just was like, what was going on here with that? By the way, why does Lamont have a closet full of random clothes for the night that she happens to spend at his house?
I don't know. It's my hand up. I have no idea.
Holy convenience zone, Batman.
Look, this movie lives in the convenience zone. The setting is the convenience zone.
And there was two lines in this that I thought were really bizarre that I had to highlight. There's a scene where the Shadow is they're on some sort of like chase scene, and he says something, next time you get to be on top. It's completely out of fucking nowhere. I was like, what? And then he has another thing where they have this like dream exchange, and he says something to Penelope Ann Miller's character about talking about how he's well endowed, and he was referring to like his like magic, and she looks down at his crotch like quick, is like, yeah, I'm sure you are. I was like, what the fuck is this movie?
Yeah, that was weird. You're right.
Because they just come out of nowhere. Both lines are out of nowhere.
It was just Alec Baldwin hitting on his co-star. That's all. I'm Alec Baldwin. I'm well endowed.
Man.
Look at Lemon.
It was, there was just, also like in the beginning of the movie when he frees the guy when the Shadow first shows up, and he like, his feet are in cement and he's about to get thrown off the bridge, and the Shadow just like kind of takes his handguns and just shoots up a bunch of fucking concrete. I was like, all right, I guess this is like, here we are.
It's pretty ridiculous, but at least look, it sets the internal logic of the movie right there. You can't expect too much right after that. Fun story. Remember during the pandemic when I was obsessed with watching the old early 90s Canadian vampire cop show called Forever Night? And I was, right? The guy who was going to, the gangster who was going to throw the guy off the bridge was the co-star of that.
Wow, it all comes back around.
It all comes back. Vampire cop is everywhere.
Shit, I'm trying to find. Oh, wait a second. Max Wright is in this film as well.
Who's Max Wright?
Now, I want to make sure that this is who I think it is. Yep. He is the father on Alf.
Oh shit! Yeah, I was gonna say Al's dad. The dad of Alf is in this. You're right. I just didn't know his name.
Oh, no,
Billy.
I have IMDb. Yes, I have IMDb pulled up, so I'm not. I am cheating a little bit with this. So is Joseph Meyer, who was also on. For those, and I know we have on Pop Culture Pros, and we're two of them that are Seinfeld fans. He was the dude who leaves the dog with Jerry for the week. Farfel.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that was another one that popped out to me.
There are so many like working actors. Like
prediction: you will ask him to come back in a week, and Jerry's like, prediction: I never see you or him ever again. Applause. Closed door.
That's a great episode. Oh, speaking of Seinfeld, the guy who played Kramer was in this, not Michael Richards.
Yes. No,
but
fake
the guy
Kramer.
who played Kramer. Yeah, fake Kramer is in this. I think he's the cab driver.
He is, and that is Andre Gregory.
He'll always be fake Kramer to me.
Oh no, that's exactly who he is. Shit, I can't find the guy who you thought was what's his face.
Polka Dot Man, yeah. So,
yes.
Audience, this is me. I'm watching this movie. I see this guy who looks exactly like the guy who plays Polka Dot Man. As anyone who listens to the show knows, I cannot remember names half the time. So I just excitedly text Ed after seeing all of this insane cast, like, oh my god, fucking Polka Dot Man's in this. This guy's in everything. And we kind of talk about that for a bit in the text. And then, like 24 hours later, I get just a text back from Ed. That was definitely not him.
Well, because I texted you when I was watching this last night, and I'm watching this.
I figured.
And as soon as I saw the dude pop up on screen, I'm like, "That's exactly who we thought it was." And I'm like, "There's no fucking way that's him."
It looks like him, though. It does look like him.
No, he does. He does, but I'm like, wait, him in 1994? No.
You're right. He's much younger.
So you know,
I know that guy from that David Lynch movie. I can't remember now. They're bleeding into, but I know this from him from a David Lynch movie.
Okay. I've noticed though on IMDb it says, it gives you suggestions more like this. And Jason, I have some ideas for some movies that we can cover down the line.
Ooh. What do we got?
Well, I know The Phantom. That's one that Jada apparently was the one that was begging us to come on with. So we're going to have to cover The Phantom at some point.
Which I like that movie.
One of my childhood favorites. And over time, I haven't seen it in a while. But Darkman.
Oh, yes. We got to talk some Darkman because that's also Raimi.
Sam Raimi and starring.
Yes,
okay, starring Liam Neeson. Pre-taken Liam Neeson. Yeah.
I love that movie.
I do, and I actually never watched the direct-to-video sequels. I refused.
Ooh, should we do a Darkman retrospective?
If we can find them all without having to pay for them, sure. And is also apparently suggested was Sylvester Stallone's Judge Dredd.
Oh shit, we never did that. We did the good one.
We did the good one, and then we skipped over that one. And I know that was early on.
I have never seen that one.
You've never seen the Stallone one?
No. Because I didn't really know the character, and then it came out, and it got such poor reviews so quickly. I was like, back then, I didn't get to go to the movies a lot, because, we were kids, so it's like I picked my movies very sparingly.
Well, yeah, my ticket was my father would drop like me and Steve off and his brother Kurt at the Cross Bay, and we would pay for one movie and then spend the entire day there because we'd be sneaking into every other fucking movie we can possibly find.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful way to spend an afternoon.
So pay the matinee child price, and then yeah, I'll come pick you up at 8:00 at night. Spend the whole fucking day in the picture. Because my father worked nights, so for him it was like, this is perfect. Fucking movie theater babysitter, go for it. I'm gonna go to sleep.
That's right. I'll be back to pick you up before work.
Exactly. Oh man, yeah, that's how I was able to see a bunch of movies as a kid. So, all right, then I kind of think that's it. Anything else on The Shadow before we close the book on this one?
All right. So yeah, one more thing. Peter Boyle as a cab driver, as I was talking about that before, is this a nod to Taxi Driver where Peter Boyle plays a cab driver? Like famously plays a cab driver.
Wow, I did not connect those dots. Probably. I would say probably.
Right, it's got to be. You don't put Peter Boyle in a taxi cab and not be intentional.
That was probably a fun little Easter egg then.
Yeah, so that's all right. So that's something. And also, like the Shadows, like League of Friends. He kind of just enslaves them, doesn't he? Like he's like, I saved your life, now you fucking owe me forever.
Yeah, it's
like,
a fucked up
that's
debt.
kind of a dick move, Shadow.
It's a fucked up life debt.
You could, dude, you should have let me got mugged. I had like $20 in my wallet, and it would have taken me half a day to cancel my credit cards. All right, it's much better than a fucking life debt.
Yeah, that's true. That is well. I mean, we don't really. I didn't know how to feel about the Shadows. I'm like, I don't know if this dude's a hero or not. I'm gonna be honest. So maybe he's an anti-hero. Ooh.
Yeah. But something I was waiting for the end. For this. In my research, I did find, and I have to read these. There are, after DC acquired the rights to the Shadow, they had a DC a Shadow Batman crossover where they work together and they go against Batman villains. And I think that's super cool because Batman was heavily influenced by the Shadow in his creation. And the Shadow was an influence for the Grey Ghost, which is from one of the best Batman animated series episodes, where what's his face, original Batman plays the Grey Ghost, which is the Shadow who influenced the Batman. So I don't know. It makes sense for them to team up for me.
No, that checks out. As soon as you told me that DC would buy the rights to the Shadow, I'm like, yep, he teamed up with Batman. Because I feel like at one point DC used Batman how Marvel used Spider-Man. It was like, yo, we need this guy to get some fucking. We got to sell this guy. Let's put the fucking coolest character we have with him, and people will just buy into it.
Right. Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna see if I can hunt this down and read it, and I'll let you know if there's something behind it, or if it was just a soulless cash grab.
That's always something I'm interested in because the soulless cash grab has become a thing for this show.
It has. Look, I call out hypocrisy and capitalism and all of its evils every time I can.
And then one thing about the Shadow's abilities, I actually have to wonder when he's doing his whole Shadow thing, especially in a restaurant, which he does 2 or 3 times. And he gets the shadow all around his eyes and everything. What the fuck is everyone else seeing while this is going on?
I have no idea.
I don't know why that popped into my mind because I'm like, is anyone else seeing this shit? Or is they seeing what?
I have a question for you, Ed, and I'm glad that you asked this one because we almost didn't touch on the most ridiculous aspect of this movie. And that is, how do you hypnotize the entire world that a building has just disappeared?
Yes, that's a good thing. And only the Shadow can see it.
Only the shadow can see it. Look. We grew up in New York. We were go. We went. We our high school was in Manhattan for at least a year.
Mhm.
So like we know what it is to walk through, and we've been to the city a ton of times after that. But we know what it is to walk through the city, and you know what? People would fucking notice if like the Chrysler building disappeared.
Yeah, I think that would stick out like a sore thumb, my friend. I think that is something oddly happening in this movie where an entire like Genghis, whatever, Khan's descendant over there has everyone except the Shadow believing that a building has vanished, so that's where he can build his atomic bomb. That, of course, waits to go off to the last second before it gets defused by Magneto. Yes, that's where I'm going to go with.
It's canon now.
Oh man, yeah, this movie was something. And we got a quick comment from Tim. Tim never saw The Shadow. Tim, I
Oh,
can't say I
Tim.
can't. Tim, I cannot say I personally can recommend it. It seems like Jason is definitely recommending it.
I'm recommending it to you, Tim, not to everyone listening, because I don't know their taste. But Tim, you and I both own copies of Howard the Duck on physical media. I mean, if there's anyone is gonna like this movie, it's you and I. And I did enjoy it. It's stupid as hell, but I enjoyed it.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think Rick would like this movie.
Oh yeah, Rick must have seen it, right?
I don't know actually. I have not had a chance to talk to him about it, but it's not really streaming anywhere. I had to rent this thing, so I don't know if Rick would be willing to
Yeah, I did
fork up
too.
the $3 or $4 for this thing.
It's definitely worth $3 or $4, I think.
Yeah, I don't care. Oh, listen, I can tell myself I rented fucking I purchased Venom, and I rented other things for this show. That's for $3 or $4. That this is definitely better than.
Yeah, and there were some things we just outright refused to pay for,
Yeah.
like Transformers.
Yeah, I went through leaps and bounds to make sure I did not pay for any of that. Nope.
Yeah, I couldn't. On a moral level, I couldn't. You know, I mean, you got to have some boundaries.
Agreed. All right. So I think that pretty much wraps it up for us this week. Thanks for joining us as always. If you joined us on the Facebook live stream, be sure to check out Granny's Peach Tea's Facebook group, as well as the Pop Culture Pros Facebook group. A lot of cool trailers and other stories and whatnot that we share on a daily basis. We come on and join the conversation. It's a heck of a lot of fun. Cool little community. You know, where listen, we have our talk, we talk our shit, but no one gets stupid about it. And by the way, to address something we brought up last week and acknowledged, the random porn postings have been nixed because now admins have to approve every post. So if you do choose to
Oh
post
yeah,
something
no,
on the, you saw
yeah,
that?
I saw that because I'm an admin, and so like I was like, hey, I got to approve something. I was like, hey, that's pornography. I'm not going to approve that. And then I looked for the person to get them out of the group, but I couldn't find them. They must have already been ejected.
Just click on yeah. It's usually like delete and ban member because that's what's gonna happen. If you post your shit on the page, you're gonna get banned. So I'm assuming it's bots. It's not actual
Yeah,
people. So whatever.
yeah. And if I do find that it's a person, then I'm going to post porn on your site. Yeah, yeah. It's you who play at this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. See, I'm the shadow.
If you're joining us on YouTube, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros. Once again, now we are presented by Pop Culture Pros. If you're joining us on X, follow at Pop Culture Pros, Instagram, and wherever you found your audio only podcast. Subscribe to Pop Culture Pros. We got a bunch of our old episodes on here, so come check that out as well. Jason, you got Deep Dive coming back over the next few weeks?
Yeah, I gotta work it out with Jenny. She's in the show again, so I gotta figure it out. So we're taking a little break before we go to season 2. So, but yeah, hopefully I'll have an answer next week.
Okay. All right, and for me and Jason, we will be taking a little brief hiatus for a couple of weeks, chilling out. There's no shows on and stuff like that, so a brief holiday break. But we will be back for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. That will be our next episode. So be sure to check that movie out and come check us out and join in the conversation, because it will be a show fully dedicated to Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, unless some other news breaks in between now and then. We got no shows coming up, so we'll be able to focus that. Maybe some guests on. Sure, Tim will probably want to jump on with us. He'll have his say in it. Probably a Rick, who knows. But
yeah, anything can happen.
All right, so we'll see you in a few weeks. Peace.